Welcome everybody to another edition of All in a Week Sports. I'm sports editor, Post-Journal Scott Kinberg, and my colleague Cody Crandall. And this guy needs no introduction, Maple Grove football coach Curt Fischer. Thanks for being with us, Curt.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, 200 wins. That is quite an accomplishment. But for all the years that I've written about your team, I think our photographer Scott Regal captured Curt Fischer at probably one of the special times in your career, you and your daughter, and that picture that was in our paper. Can you tell me what was going through your mind at that point? Do you have memory of, I mean, it was a whirlwind at the end, but to have your daughter there and being able to capture that photograph, what do you remember about that ending and be able to share it with her like that?
My daughter's just so loyal and so proud, you know, and when she approached me and just telling me congratulations, I really wasn't thinking about it at the time. And then Scott caught the picture somehow, but I didn't see it till the next day. In fact, I didn't see it until we got to film, because we had film on Sunday morning. And it was just like, it took my breath away, because it couldn't have been better to have a picture with my daughter, you know, so it was very special.
It's no surprise that you got your 200th because of your success. We knew that was coming. There was some, the last couple of weeks, we were at 199, 198, 197. Well, you finally got to 200. When you think about all those wins, Curt, what is it that you remember most fondly? Is it the journey rather than the destination? What is it that comes to mind when you're, reach a milestone like that?
Again, you know, what I said in the paper, I mean, the memories of all the guys that I've had and everybody that's been involved, you know, you start to think about all those times, you know, Brian Kiefer, Brad Verbosky. I go all the way back, you know, and Mike Tomlinson. Oh, he was such a great player. And it's so fun because a lot of those guys are now coaching midgets, and they still call me coach, and that means a lot. You know, so the 200 wins, you know, it's all part of their life too, what they've done, and there's so many young guys that have been successful, and that makes me probably happier than anything.
Your start, give me a little bit of your backstory and how you got into coaching. I know you were a three-sport athlete at Faulkner Central School, graduated there in '81, and tell me about how you got into coaching, because from what I've heard from many of your colleagues, that you were not only a great athlete, but you had a mind to be a coach even when you were playing in the sandlot. Tom Ames, who broadcasts many of your games, has told me he grew up in Faulkner, still lives there, and tells me stories that even when you guys were kids, that you were you were the play caller, you were the guy who were drawing up plays in the dirt. Just tell me about how that all evolved and how you ultimately ended up becoming a coach.
It's really funny. I mean, when I started to love everything about sports, I just remember, you would remember, I would wake up on Sunday and they had Abbott and Costello on, and then they had the Pro Football Week.
Oh, right,
highlights of the whole week, and you know, I would watch that, and then that would be getting ready for the NFL game that day, and it's every Sunday, you know, Saturday watching college, you know, and then I was just fortunate enough to have a great coach in Bill Race, in football, but other great coaches, Coach Davenport JVs, you know, he was the guy that did a lot, you know, as far as making me think as a quarterback, making me think about the next play. You know, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do, you know, in 3 plays? And Coach Race was big about that too. So I have to thank them a lot for, you know, just giving me a lot of insight in the game. But how I got into coaching was, you know, while I was going to school, I went to go play in school, and that didn't work out. I came back, went to JCC, and then it could have been maybe the greatest thing that ever happened, or maybe I look back and said, maybe it wasn't. I started working, I got a job at Cummins. My dad told me, don't do it, finish school, because you're going to want it. You have the rest of your life to work. And I just started making a lot of money. And I was living at home, But I got a call one day. I've only been at Cummins for, I think it was about a year and a half, and it was Mark Peterson.
Right.
And Mark called me and said, hey, why don't you coach junior high? I said, Mark, I haven't finished my college or degree. I haven't got a degree or anything. He goes, it doesn't matter. He goes, you can take a couple courses. And I said, oh, that'd be great. And everything worked out. I started coaching junior high football at Faulkner. And it's so funny because I remember I moved to JVs the next year, and Coach Race, I always wanted to throw the ball. I always want to throw the ball. Coach Race told me there were two things that could happen to throwing the ball. One's bad, and the other one's worse. And that was his philosophy. And, as time went on with Coach Race, he started to loosen up a little bit, and he started throwing the ball, and we had a lot of fun, as a JV coach, and him loosening up. And it's so funny because now as I've gotten older, I'm reluctant to throw the ball again. I don't know if it's the age thing or what. I start thinking about the interceptions and what can happen, but and I started working the weight room for Faulkner. And what had happened was that some of my kids, I remember Danny Madison was a good offensive lineman, and Corey Harrison, they had friends at Maple Grove, and they just happened to be Dave Thomas's sons.
Scott, right?
Yeah, Scott and Mark. And they didn't have anywhere to lift. And they asked if they could come down there, and the wheels started to spin in my mind, I'm not going to lie. I was like, yeah, come on down, start lifting with us. And as that happened, what I was hoping would happen happened. Coach Thomas from Maple Grove called me and asked me if I would come up and talk to him about putting in the weight room. And he didn't say anything about coaching yet, but I was hoping. And as I was up there talking with him, he said, listen, he goes, I can't make you the head coach right away, but I would really love you to come up here. He said, I'll be the head coach, and you just run the show. And, I was, as much as I wanted to happen, I was really nervous. And so I called Coach Race. I said, I don't know if I'm ready. And he said, when are you ever going to know? He says, you need to do this. You need to take on that challenge, and you'll love it. And that's basically what happened.
So it was 91 that you went up to Maple Grove initially. In 92, you took over as the head coach.
Correct.
To say the rest is history would probably shortchange what you've accomplished there. 200 wins, 2 state titles, countless sectional championships, countless trips to the Ralph, now New Era Field. Do you have a memory that if somebody said, okay, Curt, give me a snapshot of what your whole Maple Grove experience has been like? Do you have one, or is there just too many is that an unfair question?
No, I think that in 1998, when we won that in '98, it was I would have to say that's such a big moment, because when I went there, that was my only goal. I mean, I wanted that school to have a state championship in football. People think you're crazy for dreaming big, but that was what we wanted to do, and we talked about it, how we were going to get there, and we talked about the weights getting us there, and just working and working and working. And in 1998, when it finally happened, it was unbelievable feeling, because everything we had worked for in that short period of time happened. And before that, the lead up to that, kids were working so hard, unbelievable. Every year we were winning. They didn't win too much before that, and it wasn't bad coach or anything like that. I don't know what happened, but I think they had lost over 30 games straight up to 91. It was somewhere close to that. And to change that, Maple Grove was a basketball school. Let's face it. I mean, basketball was it there. But to change that, we kind of had to make everybody want to win, And then they win the state championship in basketball with Coach Carlson, and all that fever just kept going, and it just blew up. And so I think that 98 would be the one huge memory. It just blows out.
I went back and did a little research online on the New York State Sports Writers site, and there are 10 Chautauqua Cattaraugus football coaches that have 150 wins or more. There are only 2 of that 10 that now are in the 200 club. First one is Pat Slater, and the second one, who I don't have to introduce you to him, and then now you remember that club. There are a few others that I want to mention too here in a minute, but since Pat's at the top, he's got 213. Retired in 2012 with 3 state titles. You've had epic battles with him. I mean, we could go on a whole show, 2 shows, 3 shows could be devoted strictly to that rivalry. If I could get just a couple of comments from you or words that would describe Pat Slater and what he did to help, you guys kind of help raise each other up in epic battles. But when you think about Pat Slater and Randolph football, what comes to mind?
The way he built that program, a lot of the things that he did, and I think that he had the advantage of having those kids in grade school, and he started to build a program then with those kids. The attitude that they started playing, because I remember Randolph when I was coaching with Coach Race, Randolph football wasn't that strong, and they were, even before that, when I was in school, Randolph football wasn't that strong. So that was a long, hard struggle. But Pat gave those kids the confidence, and he built them to win. They started doing the same thing we were doing, basically. We were doing what they were doing. And it was really funny. As time went on, we would play each other one year. The next year, we were running one of their plays, and they were running one of ours at us. And I remember with Coach Slater going to scout with him and Coach Emily with Coach Race. We went to Hornell. We went out to Hornell together, and it was just a great time. Here it was. We had to beat each other to get there, Faulkner and Randolph at the time, and we were scouting together to see if we'd get there to play. But, Pat was just a great guy. He did a lot for that whole community. I really couldn't say enough about Pat Slater. What a hard worker.
I won't have to encourage you to say much about this man, Bill Race.
Just incredible person, incredible coach. I think that I learned from Coach Race is how much he cared about every kid that he ever coached. To this day, that guy, his passion for everybody from Faulkner, and that he's like our dad. All the guys that he coached that are now coaching and that or have been in coaching, he's just a proud dad, and we couldn't have asked for a better human being.
And one other guy, there's several others, but one other guy, Wally Hucknall, guy you wouldn't have played, but I know that you've established a relationship with him over time too.
One of the most motivating human beings I've ever been around or ever heard speak. I had him speak at our banquets twice, and I don't think that anybody, I think even the parents were ready to go play a game after listening to him speak. Wally talked to our kids before we went to our first state championship. He gave them some knowledge, and he did it again for us when we went to the second one. The guy, in my mind, he was the fundamental guy. There's 3 things about football: blocking, tackling, and running. That if you can't block or tackle, you can't do anything. He goes, I don't care about all these other sets. I don't care about all that. He said, it's blocking and tackling, Fisher. Blocking and tackling. But anytime I needed anything or any lifting up or anything, advice, Wally was always there. Wonderful man.